So I've got the zip file here that we downloaded with the ARM templates in it. I'm just going to extract that here. And we can see there's a number of files here. The most important ones are these two here, but we've got a PowerShell script, we've got a shell script, we've got a Ruby file, and we've got a C# script. What those do is those are effectively scripted deployment files that mean that you can use any one of those languages to deploy the parameters and the template. As I mentioned in yesterday's video, the template holds all of the details on what you're deploying, and then the parameters file effectively holds your parameters. It determines exactly how you're going to deploy those objects into Azure. So first things first, let's open up the parameters file. So we can see here all of the variables that we entered when we were creating the VM yesterday. So what I am going to do is I'm going to demonstrate DSC, which is desired state configuration, by making a couple of tweaks and then redeploying this template, and we'll see what happens. So the two changes I'm going to make, initially I'm going to change the disk type for the data disk from premium to standard, and I'm going to change the SKU name for the virtual machine. I'll just demonstrate. We've got all the different SKUs to choose from here. Again, for the purposes of this demo, I'm not going to pick anything particularly expensive. But what this demonstrates is that Azure VMs can be very simply resized on the fly. So we are going to insert in there standard B1 MS. So once we've saved our parameters file, the easiest way to deploy this template is to head back to the portal, open up the marketplace again, and pick out template deployment. Click create, build your own template in the editor, which we're not actually going to strictly do. We're going to load one. So here's my template file. We can see the modified time is slightly different on the parameters file. So we open the template, save that, then edit the parameters, and again load parameters, open. We can see here that we have standard locally redundant storage selected for the data disk, and our SKU size of standard B1 MS. I'm going to save that. Azure will now verify that everything is present and correct. We need to tell it which resource group we're deploying into. And we need to put the admin password in. Okay. Then we click agree to the terms and conditions stated above. So effectively what this is all of the variables from the parameters file laid out for you. Click purchase and we'll see what happens. Again, we can see our deployment is in progress. Click on operation details to get a bit more information there. So our deployment is complete. Let's go back and have a look at it. So we have here our virtual machine, and we can see that the SKU size has now changed to B1 MS, slightly more memory. And then if we go back to the resource group and look at the data disk and the configuration, we can see that the storage tier has changed. Where it was premium, it's now standard HDD. Okay, so I'm going to make some slightly different changes this time around. I'm going to change the name of the NIC to demo VM 2479. I'm going to retain the NSG name, the same subnet, and the same VNet. I'm going to change the virtual machine name to demo VM2. Keep the same resource group name. Keep the same disk types. Change the names of those disks. Keep the same diagnostic account. Same storage account type. And I'm going to save this. Now we're going to go back to the portal. Again, create a template deployment. Pick out our file. Save it again. And then pick out our parameters file. And save that. Again, put in our admin password, agree to the terms, and click purchase. Oh, missed the resource group. So let's see what this does for us. So now the deployment's finished, let's return to our resource group. And what we can see here, that instead of resizing the existing VM, we now have a second VM deployed, VM2, with 2 new disks and a new NIC. So this tells us a number of things. Firstly, just how versatile in terms of CI/CD pipeline ARM templates can be. You could, for example, use them to deploy machines on an ongoing basis. I've done that on projects that I've worked on in the past using PowerShell scripts. Additionally, you could use them to ensure that your VMs are sized up and sized down appropriately. Say, for example, you need to run an extra workload at a particular time of the quarter for a finance application. You can just fire up the size when you need it and then bring it back down again with the template deployment. So one thing worth noting, let's just look at our demo VM1 again. You'll note that it's in a stop deallocated state, which essentially means while the disk continues to persist, the actual server infrastructure has been deallocated from the server rack that it was created in. So what happens if it's running? Well, let's try. I'm going to hit start, fire up the VM. It takes a few minutes to start up. And I'm going to go back to my ARM template. And what we're going to do here is we're going to bring the size back down again. To B1 LS as it was before. Let's save that. Just a quick refresh to see if it's running yet. And it's running. Okay. So once again, we're going to deploy through the marketplace. So click create, build our own template, load our template, and our parameter file. That's been recently saved. Save that. Make sure we're targeting the right resource group. And then we agree to the T's and C's. And there's our admin password. And click purchase. So let's head back to our resource group and see what happens. There is our VM. You can see what's happened is the deployment template has stopped the VM because a VM needs to be in a stop state before it will actually change size, and it's now restarting it again. Definitely worth noting that you don't want to be starting and stopping VMs accidentally on production workloads. There we go, we've got a successful template deployment. In the next video, I plan to move on to some of the PowerShell elements that assist with deploying ARM templates, because they definitely come up in the exams. There'll be sort of insert the gap from a PowerShell commandlet or an Azure CLI command. So I'm going to go through a number of those, and we'll continue to tweak this AZ-103 lab environment accordingly. See ya.